All right, Rick, your Tampa Bay Buccaneers are 1-0 in the preseason. But we get to see Baker Mayfield, and that's probably a little bit more exciting, although it was pretty exciting when we saw Jalen Daniels out there. We'll get to that Jets wrap-up in a second. But Baker Mayfield had a lot to say today. Whenever Baker talks, we listen. And today was one of those days where he tackled a lot of topics. What stood out to you from today's practice when Baker addressed the media?
Well, he still has that chip on his shoulder. We know that. He's collecting receipts like Jason Light does from people around the country that are saying that this football team may not, have a 500 record or better, and that seems to be a popular opinion. But he's going to invent it, even if there isn't one. Having talked to him in New Jersey, and then he repeated some of it today, I think the thing that Baker is really excited about as much as anything is the defense.
Yeah.
And some of the attitude guys that are like Baker Mayfield, guys that have a little edge to them. And he has competed against this defense in training camp. They're obviously large men for the most part. They've gotten bigger.
Yes.
He said something about Josiah Trotter today that you just don't hear veteran players say about a rookie. And just how what a badass he is, and not just that, but a good player on top of it. So I think Baker is he's always confident, right? But I think he sees that what the Bucs have done in the offseason gives them a chance, and as does Zach Robinson. I mean, let's be honest. The most important guy, I think, to Baker Mayfield is the offensive coordinator. He didn't have a lot of answers at the line of scrimmage last year. They couldn't run the football, and I think the decimation of the offensive line was the biggest part of that. We saw Tristan Wirfs come back this week and do some things individually. So surely when they get him back, they're going to be a better offensive line. But if you can run the football the way they did 2 years ago, and they were a top 5 offense rushing team, then they're going to be really hard to beat. But I also, talking to Baker, he doesn't feel like they're going to have to score 30 points a game to win either.
Yeah, right.
So that's the difference, right? Like, if you have some balance, and we've seen them go back and forth in training camp, I think that gives them some encouragement. So, yeah, overall, he's always upbeat, and we can get into some of the things he told me with respect to, his contract and just reuniting with his family and stuff later. But Baker wants people to know that he's got a chip, and it's getting wider, and he's starting to get a little bit in the game mode. He's feeling himself for the preseason game. So, yeah, he's pretty excited to play, I think.
Greg, when I was watching practice with you guys today, one thing we saw was red zone, and Baker was dealing today.
Yeah.
I said on the Pewter Report podcast earlier today, it was almost like Oprah Winfrey was out at practice going, "You get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, you get a touchdown, and one for you." I mean, he was lighting it up, and we saw Jalen McMillan return to practice today. We saw touchdowns from Ted Hurst, Chris Godwin Jr., Dean Patterson the fourth, David Sills the fifth. I mean, it was an onslaught in the red zone today, and Baker was just having one of those days. It seems like this is game week for Baker Mayfield, is it not?
Yeah, I mean, it's his only chance to get out there and play in the next 3-4 weeks. Yeah. So I think you want to be sharp. It's against the Chiefs, so it's not like it's a nobody opponent.
Right.
It's an opponent. It's somebody where you can go out there, even if you just leave at the end of the first quarter and you're up 10-7 on Patrick Mahomes and Kelsey, that's going to mean something to him.
Yeah.
You take your victories where you can in the preseason. And I do think it's one of those where Baker likes being slighted. It's very much a Jason Light thing, in that today he comes out and the quote is that everybody's picking us to have a losing record, he says.
Right.
And Greg Auman at NFL comes in, he's like, "Hey, Baker, just not me.
Right.
Be a good thing." He doesn't care. It doesn't sound as good when you say more than half the people are picking us to have a losing record. He needs to think that everybody is taking them not to win the NFC South, because that's what gets him motivated. And I don't think he needs any extra motivation in what right now is a contract year for him.
Right.
But I think he welcomes all slights this time of year and just adds them to the kitty.
Yeah, had some really wonderful things to say about Kenny Gainwell. And we didn't see Bucky Irving too much in the offseason when he was rehabbing that shoulder injury, but we got to see Kenneth Gainwell as the starting running back during the OTAs, and the mandatory minicamp. Bucky was back, but he got a lot of carries during that part of the offseason. And then when Bucky was healthy and returned to training camp. Bucky got a lot of the carries to kind of catch up a little bit in this offense. And we've just seen Kenny Gainwell explode as a receiver, not just a swing pass guy, not just a screen guy, guys running down the field. And just look at what he did to Alex Anzalone last year when he was a Steeler and Anzalone was a Lion, catching touchdown passes 50 yards down the field. He's a dynamic weapon. And I remember talking to Todd Bowles out there at the NFL annual meeting in Phoenix, and Bowles said right off the bat, Kenny Gainwell is 1B and Bucky Irving is 1A. This is not a 1-2 punch. This is a 1A, 1B punch, Rick. And I'm excited to see what Kenny Gainwell can do in this offense. We're going to see some pony package. Maybe not Saturday night, but we're going to see the pony package come back with a vengeance here, because you got 3 good backs, including Sean Tucker. You got to find ways to get those guys in the field. There's only 1 ball, but you can get 2 guys on the field in the pony package.
Yeah, they're going to not show a lot of that, I think. But this should be a really good screen team this year.
Yeah.
It should be a team that has those guys available in the flat, and I think they will play them together. I think you'll see them where they both go that way. And Baker can kind of, he's told me, he goes, look, more than any other year, I just got to play point guard.
Yeah.
I can still grip it and rip it with the best of them, and we know that.
Yeah.
But really, it's just getting the ball in guys' hands. And I was talking to Greg about this today. I mean, these guys might catch – Gainwell could catch 60, 75 passes, and I don't think that's a stretch. And
right.
The great thing about it is we saw Bucky Irving get hurt for the first time, I guess, in his life last year. And, they got kind of bogged down with a lot of the inside zone runs, and things like that. And really – the strength of the offensive line, if you can mix that up and get them with some of these outside zones, I think it might be better for Bucky's health for sure. Yeah. And also, to have a Gainwell, he doesn't have to have 25 touches a game.
That's right.
He might get 15, but if he's Barry Bonds and every time he takes it, he can go to the house, then that's what you want from Bucky Irving. You don't have to beat them up in the demolition derby. Just drive the Ferrari and on the highway and you're good. So, but Gainwell can do all those dirty things. He's not an explosive runner. He doesn't have kind of breakaway speed. Bucky doesn't either necessarily. But man, he was a receiver at Memphis. Yep. He runs great routes. He presents very well. He catches everything. And I just know that Baker's really comfortable with him. So, yeah, I think – and then, we've seen what Sean Tucker can do. Hell, Josh Williams made a couple moves inside the 10-yard line last week. It was like, that's pretty good, man. Hey, Gruden was going to come through the TV if he does that on Saturday night. So they feel good about the running backs, but they all do similar things, and that can be good or bad. What they don't have is that big pounding physical back, but really Tucker is kind of morphed into their short yardage goal line guy, for better or worse. And he had 7 or 8 touchdowns last year.
I know.